YouTube channel. My name is Wangui Grace. Thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. And this is the channel where we get to do true crime cases. So for my very first case, it's my first time shooting a video and a YouTube video for that matter. And I'm very nervous, guys. I hope it doesn't show. But you know what? It gets better with time. You know, we'll get there. We'll get there. So for my first case, I decided to go with Sharon Otieno. Most of us are familiar with this case, but if you're not familiar, don't worry, because I'm about to give you the details that surround the murder of Sharon Otieno. So who is Sharon Otieno? At the time of her death, Sharon was 26 years old and she was 7 months pregnant. Sharon was a third-year student at Rongo University. She was a mom to 3 beautiful kids from a previous marriage, which she had already left, and at the time of her death, she was living with her parents. So Sharon was dating the Migori County Governor then, who is Okoth Obado. So they had been in a relationship, although I could not quite get for how long they had been in this relationship. And then things took a turn when Sharon got pregnant. And the governor was okay with the pregnancy because, you know, the kid is already here. But then things didn't go well for Sharon as expected when the governor started to ignore her. You know, she would text the governor would read the messages, he would blue tick her, you know, and Sharon began to get worried. You know, she's pregnant, she's expecting a baby, she already has 3 kids, and she needs a way to support, she needs financial support. So Sharon, things really got intense that the governor was ignoring her, that Sharon started taking pictures of herself with the pregnancy and now sending to the wife, to the governor. But this still did not make the governor speak to Sharon. So the next thing that Sharon decided to do was do what? Go to the press. So Sharon reached out to his friend who connected her with Barack Odur, a journalist. So Sharon reached out to the journalist Barack, and Sharon told him that I have a case. It's a scandal involving the governor and be scandalous. Although, like, I'm not really sure whether Sharon intended to speak to the journalist or she was just trying to get the governor to react. So as expected, obviously the journalist had to reach out, not actually the journalist who reached out, the friend who connected Sharon to this journalist. He was the one who talked to Obado, and he was like, Sharon wants to talk to the journal to Sharon already wants to talk to a journalist about you impregnating her and this stuff. So the friend, the person who was connecting Sharon to the journalist, planned a meeting with Obado in Nairobi, and they had a meeting, and this is where, like, Sharon had told this guy that he was expecting the governor to compensate her, and so Sharon was demanding 20 million from the governor to buy a house and 5 million upkeep. However, the governor negotiated and said, I can only afford to build you a 3-bedroom house in Homa Bay and give you 3 million. And during these negotiations, the negotiations were going on. Remember the journalist who Sharon had reached out to, who Sharon wanted to talk about this scandal? The governor's aide, Mr. Oyamo, who was the governor's PA. The governor's PA wanted to talk to the journalist separately, to which the journalist was like, no, I am not going to meet with you in the absence of Sharon. And that's how, like, now they planned to meet up. Sharon, on the other hand, was like, you know what, we are going to meet to hear what the governor wants, what he's suggesting, stuff like that. And on the 3rd September 2018, before Sharon left home, her mother warned her and told her, you know what, you should not go to meet the aide, the PA, when you're alone. You should be careful. Like, her mother was against her leaving. I like to say that it's just a mother's instinct. But Sharon called now the journalist, and he was like, you know, she was like, let's go meet this the governor's PA because he wants to talk. And they agreed to meet at Grasha Hotel. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, guys. I don't know if it's Grasha, Graka, but I write it here. So they agreed to meet at Grasha Hotel. Uh, Sharon and the journalist, they arrived on time, and so they were drinking wine. I'm not sure if Sharon was drinking, but there was wine. And within no time, Michael Oyamo, who is the PA to the governor, arrived, and he said he was not comfortable staying at Grasha Hotel and suggested that they move to another location. And sorry guys, and before they actually left, he paid for the bill. He gave a 1,000, and the wine was 750. And Sharon told the waiter to keep the change, and they left. On the exit of the Grasha Hotel, Oyamo ordered a taxi. The taxi came. It was a Toyota Fielder, and the driver who was driving this, who later came to be a witness in this case, was somehow involved. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the correct word to say is involved, but he was a witness. So he ordered the taxi, and he sat at the front seat, while Sharon and the journalist sat at the two back seat. And they were moving now from Grasha to another place where Mr. Oyamo had suggested, because he claimed that he was, for whatever reasons, he was not comfortable at Grasha Hotel. However, after they had driven for a few minutes, the car stopped, and two other men got in the car using at the back seat, using so one entered from the side where Sharon was seated, and the other one from the side where the journalist was seated. Now Sharon and the journalist were sandwiched, and at this point, Mr. Oyamo alighted the vehicle, and the vehicle continued to move. So right now it's only the driver, Sharon, the journalist, and the two men who had just come in. Now the journalist obviously sensed that something is not okay, and according to his statement, he wrestled these two guys, and he managed to jump out of a moving vehicle, leaving Sharon in the car. Now guys, you have to remember that Sharon at the time is 7 months pregnant, so she's not in a position like to maybe fight. I'd love to think, and that's how things happened. So the journalist has already jumped out of this moving vehicle, and he has left Sharon in the presence of these two men and the driver. That was the last time Sharon was seen alive, according to the journalist Barack Odur. The next minute, after 2 days, Sharon had been reported missing. She was found stabbed 8 times on the neck, the abdomen, and the back. Both her and the baby did not survive the murder. And even during the hearing of the case, the doctor testified that the injuries that Sharon sustained affected the baby. Actually, the baby also, the stabs got to the baby because the baby had been stabbed at the spine. So that is the story we all got to know about Sharon. Now, after Sharon was discovered dead, they already were suspects, and the first suspect was the governor called Obado, and his PA, Michael Oyamo, and his another aide, Mr. Obiero. They were taken into custody and they were interrogated. Now, guys, this is where now the plot starts to thicken. When you are first arrested as a suspect, you have to make a statement. So, Mr. Oyamo gave his statement to the police. You have to note that, guys, when you are arrested as a suspect, there is a statement that you make. The police ask you what this. I'm assuming the police ask you, what do you have to say? Did you kill this person? And then you say. Now, the very first statement that Mr. Oyamo gave to the police, this is according to the police who testified. This is now during the court hearing that the police testified that Mr. Oyamo in his statement said, now this is where, guys, we'll get to see what I'm saying when the plot thickens. So apparently, Mr. Oyamo in his statement admitted that him and Sharon were having an affair. This is to mean that Sharon was cheating on the governor with his PA. Do you understand? Oyamo admitted that him and Sharon were having an affair, and actually the baby that Sharon was carrying was his. And Sharon started to make demands. Sharon started blackmailing Mr. Oyamo, the governor's PA, and she was claiming some amount of money and monthly upkeep. But however, Mr. Oyamo suggested that they meet with Sharon so that they can discuss these issues like on one-on-one basis instead of texting and phone calls. And so they agreed on meeting at Grasha Hotel. Guys, I need you to remember that this is the statement that Mr. Oyamo made to the police. Now, this is the police who is testifying. Now, this is witness statement. And on the day that he was to meet Sharon, they agreed on meeting at Grasha Hotel. And on arrival, he met Sharon in the presence of another man to whom he said he didn't know who the man was. Remember, this man is the journalist. But in this statement, Mr. Oyamo said that he met Sharon in the presence of another man, but he did not know the man. And he said in his statement that he felt uncomfortable at Grasha Hotel and suggested that they move to another hotel. On their way out, the unknown man requested a taxi. Don't forget that this is Mr. Oyamo's statement. So the unknown man to Mr. Oyamo requested a taxi, and the taxi came with 3 other men. So guys, this is already sus because, okay, so he claimed that after the taxi came with 3 other men, they got in him, Sharon, and the unknown journalist, the unknown man now who is the journalist. And this is already sus because, I mean, guys, on a normal day, when you request a taxi and it already comes with 3 other people, I mean, I would feel like, even if I'm with my friends, I would ask them, who are these? Why is the taxi already occupied? But anyway, they got in. He continues to claim like after the car had drove for about 200 meters, the car stopped and the 3 men alighted and forced Mr. Oyamo out of the car. Now there was another car allegedly that was following them, and he was taken to that car, a Toyota Auxio. And the car that had Sharon and the unknown man who is the journalist left. So he was taken out to the Toyota Auxio, and the Sharon and the car that she was in with this journalist sped off on their way to Homa Bay. They continued the route to Homa Bay, while this car that he was dragged into left on its way to Kisii. He claimed that he was tortured in this car and they were demanding for 1.5 million shillings. And guys, he said that he felt unconscious and that was the last thing that he remembers. Yes. And the next thing that he woke up to, he found himself in Kisii, and it was members of the public who took him to the hospital, although he did not mention the hospital in his statement or nothing like that. And he said that he lost 240 shillings, 240,000, sorry, 240,000 shillings, and a phone, a Techno phone. So I feel like he was not smart, but you know, this way he said that he felt unconscious, like when he tested, when he says he can't remember anything else. I mean, there's nothing much you can do. But already, guys, in his story, in his statement, we can already tell there are some loopholes, especially where he claimed that he was actually the one who had sired the child, the unborn baby, with Sharon, because as you would expect, a DNA was conducted, and Okoth Obado had 99.99% of being the biological father to Sharon's unborn child, which clearly rules out almost half of Mr. Oyamo's statement, because now he's not the father. And there was nothing else to prove that him and Sharon actually were having an affair behind the governor's back. And if you're wise enough to know that he was trying to cover up for someone, and I guess we all know who. So, but the governor, now we come to the governor's side, the governor part. The governor was also arrested with his two aides, uh, but he denied having anything to do with Sharon's death. He actually claimed that on the day that Sharon was murdered, he was out of Homa Bay. He was in Nairobi. However, guys, I want you to know that when his phone was tracked around on the day that Sharon was murdered, his phone showed that he was actually in Homa Bay and not in Nairobi as he had claimed. So guys, there is another loophole that we have seen from him, because he had earlier claimed that he had nothing to do with Sharon's death. He was actually in Nairobi, but his phone was traced that on that day that Sharon was murdered, his phone was actually in Homa Bay, which goes to show that there's no way that his phone could be in Homa Bay and him in Nairobi. So there are chances that he was in Homa Bay. Also, the taxi driver, remember the taxi driver of the Toyota Fielder that drove Sharon to the murder scene where she was murdered? He confessed that, I read that he was when you're arrested and police need a confession out of you, when they need to confess, they bargain, like they tell you, if you actually confess, you are going to get maybe a lesser term, basically something like that. And he was afraid of getting a life sentence, so he obviously had to speak. And he said that on that day, after that the Toyota had left to where Sharon was murdered, the governor came in another car. This car belonged to his other aide. Remember, there are two aides here, Mr. Obiero and Mr. Oyamo. Now, Mr. Oyamo, I've already told you, like, he was mostly involved. He was the one who lured Sharon, was the one who took Sharon out of the hotel, from Grasha Hotel to the next meeting point. So now this other aide, Mr. Obiero, the governor used his car to the murder scene, where he gave final instructions. It is alleged that this is where he gave his final instructions. Now, that is what the taxi driver confessed. Also, guys, another interesting fact is that this Toyota Fielder that was that carried Sharon from Grasha Hotel to allegedly where she was killed, on that day, on the September 3rd of 2018, its tracking device had been deactivated. And the tracking device was activated the next day after Sharon's murder, which means there was no way to prove that this is the car that transported Sharon. There was no proof, there was no way that they could prove that this is actually the car, because because the tracking device had been deactivated. So if they track the car's movement, they could not actually prove that the car had been around or near the area where Sharon was found. As guys, you can see from this story, there are a lot of loopholes, there are a lot of questions, different witness statements that keep contradicting each other. Like, I don't know what Sharon knew that someone wanted really her dead, because I mean, it's just a child. She already held 3 kids. So I don't think that had another, like, guys, I just don't know what to think about this case. But I guess by now we all know where the fingers are pointing, because Sharon did deserve to die in a manner that she died, even if she was blackmailing. I'm not saying she was blackmailing, but it is alleged that she was blackmailing the governor. And if it's true, okay guys, let's not make assumptions. And it's so sad that Sharon's life was cut short. She was only 26. She already had 3 other kids. And guys, the case is still ongoing, and I don't know how law works, because it's been years since 2018, and no one has been held accountable. No one has ever been held and say that you have been charged with the murder of Sharon. And it's so unfortunate, but we hope that eventually justice will be served, and may Sharon's soul with her unborn baby continue resting in peace. and my heartfelt condolences to the family of Sharon for having to lose their daughter and their unborn grandchild in such a gruesome way. No child deserves to die in such a painful death. Also, guys, I don't know if I mentioned that Sharon was also raped. Yes, guys, she was raped. She was stabbed. Actually, when they found Sharon uh, at the murder scene, the people who committed that crime actually left condoms there. Guys, the the audacity, like the disrespect. But let's just hope Sharon's justice will be served with time. So guys, thank you so much for staying. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really did my best, and as I had mentioned, it's my first video, but I promise I'm going to get better with time, because as we all know, practice makes perfect. Remember to subscribe, guys. Turn on your notification bell so that whenever I post another video, you will get notified. And before the end of this week, guys, yes, before the end of this week, I will have posted another video. Please let me know in the comment section what other case you would like me to highlight, what other case that caused uproar in the country, that was never, that people, that the victim has never found justice, and I will be glad to do research. Otherwise, have a nice time and see you on the next video. Bye.